Liora, what are some trends you're seeing in the connection between geopolitics and cyber attacks?
So, kinetic warfare feeds cyber warfare. There are several current ongoing global conflicts that have led to increased cyber activity, but we're not talking only about the combating sides in a conflict that are being targeted. Allies of each side are also caught in the crossfire. We're talking about businesses that are connected to either side, any diplomatic entities, and any other involved third parties. It's not always clear, but it's there. It's called cyber proxy war. We've seen these proxy wars played out in several ongoing global conflicts. First of all, in the war between Russia and Ukraine. We've seen EU countries that have seen a surge in cyber incidences in the second half of 2023, which are mainly due to Russian APT groups that are targeting Ukraine-aligned entities. We've also seen Chinese APTs that aim cyber activities in the United States as a reflection on their tensions with Taiwan. And also, Iranian APTs engage in cyber attacks that are related to the Hamas-Israel conflict.
That is indeed a very interesting point. For example, we've seen, I worked at a Danish company up until a year ago, and we have seen indeed how by Denmark supporting a certain side of the war between Russia and Ukraine, a lot of infrastructure organizations and companies, private companies within Denmark have seen these kind of attacks by allegedly Russian-associated APTs groups. And it makes both organizations and countries think twice. Should they actually support a certain side? And if they do, what is going to be the actual effect against them, their infrastructure? We've seen such attacks on electrical infrastructures in the US, again, because of the same war between Russia and Ukraine. And countries have to think twice where they are going to be affected by their support.
Right, and also need to be aware of their connections and their current ongoing connections. They're not all the time, not everybody's aware of if their headquarters are located in a certain, if they have branches, everybody needs to be very aware and do their due diligence to find out exactly what are the risks.
True. I actually wonder whether we should do such a research and a new report within our CTI group around what are the non-direct risks that organization can actually face by these kind of supports because they have all of these affiliates outside of the country.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah. That's going to be on our next podcast.
So another trend we've seen is an increase in hacktivist activity, which are individuals or groups who are motivated by an ideology or political views. The first resurgence we've seen is in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. There has been an increase of 11% in the first half of 2023 alone, but it only escalated with the Hamas-Israel war. Now, we're not talking only about the rise in amount of incidences that are related to hacktivists. Hacktivists also stepped up their level of sophistication and they got more confident in their attacks. They started to attack big organizations like NATO, like Microsoft, like the US fleet, etc.
And I assume it's all, again, because of the tools that they have, such as AI, that enable even activists to use a much stronger power, and maybe that gives them false or not false confidence in their acts.
Right.
Interesting. So looking at all of these geopolitical threats that we see out there, some of the main recommendations would obviously be to keep up to date with the geopolitical threat landscape, where we are, what are our borders, both in cybersecurity and real borders, who do we support, and what kind of risk that might pose to the organization itself or the country. And as you said before, where are the different affiliates, where are third parties and suppliers located, and if they are affected, will we or can we be affected because of that? That adds an additional complexity of our infrastructure, of our cybersecurity threat landscape that we need to be aware of, on one hand. On the other hand, we need to implement much better and more current backups and disaster and recoveries for our organization, for our plans, for our infrastructure, whether it's in the cloud or on-premise, making sure that it's all up to date. And speaking up to date, have constant and regular scanning for vulnerabilities, making sure that we patch and our systems are up to date and our infrastructure is up to date, because that's where we will be attacked next. Definitely when there is AI that can look for all of those vulnerabilities significantly faster, automatically, and so on.
you.